guys, this is Alyssa here from Southern Maryland Vegan Events, and for today's video I want to do just a quick cooking demo. And it's not even really cooking because it's just throwing a bunch of ingredients together to make something awesome. So I wanted to share that with you because it's really something that you can just do anytime, all the time. I make this almost weekly, and really just highlight how easy it is to eat vegan food or eat food that does not have animal ingredients in it, because there's a lot of myths out there. One of them being that everything that we eat is either too complicated and there's all these crazy ingredients and where do you find them, or we just sit around and eat lettuce and carrot sticks all day, which couldn't be further from the truth. I do like those and I eat a lot of them, but they're not my staple of everything that I do, certainly. So, and for most of us actually. So and that's a good point. Speaking of myths, there's so many out there. I could really do an entire video. Maybe that's the next thing I'll do on all of the vegan myths out there. So I'll spend all day talking about that, but I digress, and here we go. So I'm gonna make a mock chicken salad today, and honestly, from what I remember chicken salad or tuna salad tasting like from before, this is pretty darn close, and I think anybody and everybody will like it. So everybody that I have tried it or tell them to make this love it. So I think you will too. I think anybody will. So all you do, and this is super simple and easy, and I typically don't really measure a lot unless I'm actually preparing a recipe card for somebody or something. So these are kind of approximate, and again, with cooking with plant-based ingredients, it's so versatile. So you don't have to be exact in everything. You're not baking something that necessarily requires certain measurements or things like that. And even with baking, I often just make that up as I go along too sometimes. So especially with cooking, you can add a little bit more here, you can toss in some other things there, and it still comes out great, and you can't go wrong, you can't mess it up, and so go for it. So all you're gonna do is, I like to double everything. You can do this with 1 can or 2. I double everything, so that's kind of the basis for this particular, just if you're trying to prep at home, or if it's just you or 1 or 2 people. But take a can of chickpeas, 2 cans of chickpeas, or you can mix it up and add a can of the Great Northern beans, any other type of white kidney bean in there works fantastic. I do that all the time too, just to have a little bit of a mix of texture. Drain and rinse those, then dump them into a bowl, mash those up really well. And again, the consistency doesn't have to be too fine or mashed. It's basically, it's what you want or what you desire. And once you are done, I went ahead and did a lot of this just to speed it up for you guys. So once you're done with that, I then take a green bell pepper. Usually I'll just chop up the entire thing, dump that in there. This gives it a nice crunch to the salad as well. Little fun fact, did you know that you can tell the gender of bell peppers, supposedly? So I guess if they have 3 bumps, that means they're male, and then 4 bumps mean they're female. So what do you know? Then I take about, depending on the size of your onion, like if it's a smaller onion, I'll just cut up the whole thing, or if it's a larger onion, I'll chop up half, cut up half of that, and dump that in there. Stuff out of the way. And then I will, depending on, there's so many vegan mayonnaise brands and flavors out there now. You can't go wrong. They're all fantastic. So get whatever you can find, whatever you like, whatever your preference is. I like this one by Follow Your Heart. They have several different versions as well. The Just Mayo is fantastic. It's probably the closest thing to, in my opinion, to what you would think of as traditional mayonnaise, even though at this point I think they all taste just like it anyway. Even Hellmann's makes a vegan mayonnaise now, so there's literally any and everything out there. So since I already had this one open, I'll just throw this in here. And normally I do, I don't know, about a cup. And again, depending on what kind of creamy texture and consistency you want, it doesn't have to be exact. Mix all of that together really well. The other great thing about making this type of salad or this type of dish is you can eat this as is and it's full of flavor and delicious, or if you want, you can add some fresh lemon juice. I'll do that if I have a lemon, or I always keep fresh lemon juice. It's a staple. This is one of my pantry staples. I keep this on hand all the time, so if I don't happen to have any lemons, this is the next best thing. It lasts for ages, and this is a base for so many sauces, so many dishes, and it's just fantastic to have. You can also add, my favorite is, I forgot to put it out there, some garlic powder and again, as much as you want, as little as you want. I like a lot of garlic. You can add some dill. That gives it a little bit of a tanginess. And a little salt and pepper if you want to. And whatever you want. It smells so good. That dill, even if it's not fresh, just really makes it pop. And ooh, you could even add a little bit of cumin. I do that sometimes to add a little bit of a different flavor, ethnic flavor in there too. So that's it. So easy, really quick. And if you have a food processor, I'll often just throw all this stuff in the food processor and you don't even have to spend time chopping it up. Sometimes I get lazy and I don't even want to wash my food processor, so I'll chop everything up and do it this way anyway. So hopefully you guys can see that well. And grab a wrap, whatever flatbread of choice you want to use. I really like these Italian herb wraps. If you have a gluten intolerance or allergy, these almond flour ones are really good too. I use both of them depending on what I'm feeling like. So, and then you can eat this as is, you can eat it plain, you can eat it in a bowl, or you don't have to add it to a wrap or a sandwich or make anything out of it. But if you do, you can always add some fresh mixed lettuce greens. You can chop up some tomato. I might do that. Couple slices. Tomato. Again, whatever you happen to have, and then load up. Let's see if we can make enough room for you guys to see. Load up your wrap. Much as you want. Roll that up. See that? And there you go. So good, so easy, delicious. This is honestly one of my favorite lunch, snack, whatever you're doing, type of meals, or just even if you need a mid-afternoon pick me up. There you go. Eat a bowl of that. There you go. So that is what I wanted to show you guys today. Obviously, there's so much more and could go over, but I just wanted to give you a quick recipe or a quick idea to do. And all these ingredients are, found year round and in every store locally, every supermarket as well. So there's no problem in finding any of the ingredients. I also wanted to cover, let me see if I can get this over here for you guys. I brought out all this stuff actually in the Earth Day video I made, if you happen to catch that from a couple weeks ago. But I really wanted to highlight all of this again, especially since we're in light of COVID and the meat shortage and the potential food shortage across America, because they're really, you know, in plant-based speak, there isn't a meat, dairy, or eggs shortage. We have all of that right here, and so that means all of us have access to that. And we don't have to eat animals for our sources of meat, dairy, or eggs, or protein, or any other nutritional content, because we can get it all from plants and plant-based foods. And so, yes, while these are still processed, no differently than other products, there's still a source of nutrition and vitamins and nutrients coming that are called meat, dairy, and eggs. They're just not coming from an animal. So keep that in mind and give it a shot, because there's so many things that you can do with them now. The taste, the texture, the smells, the everything is just so, they've gotten so good at replicating what animal-based products taste like, that it's really getting to a point where it's hard to fool anybody. So you can really, no matter what anybody's palate is in the family, or whoever you're cooking for, or whoever you need to feed, anybody, I guarantee, will like this if you just give it a shot and take out that notion where, oh, it's made from veggies, it's going to taste horrible, or it's going to be bland, because again, that's another common myth and is just not always the case, very often not the case. So just real quick, I'll kind of go by brand. And these are just things that I pulled out of my freezer, so they're frozen and they don't look the same as what they do in the grocery store. So, but they freeze well. So I buy this stuff and keep it on hand for just in case. So there are, you know, Gardein, they make everything from chicken tenders to turkey cutlets to fishless fillets, crab cake bites, oh gosh, everything. There's so many different types of like the beef tenderloin tips and stuff like that are really good too. So they do all kinds of stuff. There is the brand Field Roast, which makes incredible sausages, and you just cut these up, saute them in your skillet or however you want to use them, throw them in your spaghetti dishes, any pasta dishes. They're fantastic. They also make deli slices for your sandwiches, and this lentil sage flavor is phenomenal. Field Roast, I love they make a celebration roast. We love these. You just bake these in the oven and then slice it up just like any, like a meat or an animal-based roast, pot roast, something like that, and they're fantastic too. I showed this last time as well. Field Roast also makes mac and cheese, which is my guilty pleasure, and I could eat this stuff every single day. I love it. So good. And moving on over here to Beyond Meat. You probably have heard of Beyond Meat, even if you haven't tried it yet, because they're everywhere and everyone raves about it, and it really is phenomenal in terms of what they've done with replicating beef and beef patties. And they have the ground beef that you can buy in the packages like this, and they also have the patties that you can just throw directly on the grill. They make also the sausages, which are amazing as well. You can throw these in a skillet with some grilled green bell peppers, onions, make sandwiches. Incredible. They're beefy crumbles, you know, used for tacos or lasagnas, spaghettis. Saute those up in the skillet. It tastes exactly the same. They even make corn dogs, mini corn dogs, and these are so good. So I like to have these on hand for game days and stuff like that. Everybody loves it. Cheeses, Mayoko's Creamery they're probably the #1 leading plant-based vegan cheese out there, and for good reason, because it's phenomenal. They also make a butter, which I use constantly, and everyone is like, that's really butter, and like, yeah, and it's phenomenal. Their cheese wheels, this is the classic chive. They have all different kinds of flavors too. So if you're making a cheese spread, a cheese board, appetizers, wine and cheese nights, these are fantastic. They also make a mozzarella, which is awesome on pizza and in lasagna as well, whatever you want. Oh, I forgot about, I don't know if I don't think I have any more left. We ate it all. Field Roast also makes, speaking of cheeses, Field Roast makes their chow cheeses, which I am obsessed with putting on burgers and grilled cheese sandwiches, because they melt and taste this like the exact same. It's astounding. They're so good. So Kite Hill makes a fantastic chive almond based cream cheese. And again, this is great for your spreads, for bagels, for, you know, cheese and crackers, stuff like that. Tofutti makes a sour cream. I can't live without sour cream. And it's, again, same taste, texture, consistency. Just Egg makes the Just Egg scramble. You just throw that into a skillet and it literally makes up exactly like scrambled eggs. You can use these for omelets, you can use these for burritos, breakfast burritos, things like that. Throw in whatever veggies you want. BioLife makes an awesome Parmesan cheese wedge that you just shred over your pastas, and fantastic. So there's so much out there. I literally could pull out 15 other things out of the freezer, and it keeps forever. So you don't have to worry about that too. So that is kind of everything in a nutshell for now in terms of what I wanted to show you guys today, and especially just touch on this again, because we are at a time where we're giving unprecedented access and exposure into how awful the meat packing plants and the slaughterhouses are, not just for the unimaginable treatment that the animals have to endure, but also for the people. We are seeing how bad it is for everybody. So there's never been a more important time and more opportune time actually for us to be given all the chances and the exposure to really, you know, take a look at our food choices and the impacts that it has, and start switching over to a more sustainable, more economically viable way of eating. And that really does come from plants. And if you watch the Earth Day video, I cover that in great detail. So I really encourage you to check it out, because it's applicable not just for Earth Day, but for every day and for all of us. So I hope you'll keep that in mind, and please feel free, or I encourage you to follow the Southern Maryland Vegan Restaurant Week page. That's SOMD Vegan Restaurant Week page on Facebook and Instagram, because I post things daily in terms of different restaurants that are offering vegan and plant-based items or options or on their menus, or events that we're doing around the area. All kinds of tips on ways you can find different things, or just a plethora of information for all things that have to do with vegan and everything under that. So give it a look, and thanks so much for watching, and I hope to see you guys soon. Bye-bye.